to Enterprise Zone, the show that caters to small businesses, allowing them a platform to show us exactly what they're all about. As we do on the show today, we are in Pretoria to meet up with Tumisang, who owns APM Bus Company. Join me as he takes us through his business journey. Tumisang, thank you so much for sharing your business journey with us. Tell us the story of how APM was started.
It's in fact a story of coincidences. I mean, by background, I'm a lawyer by training. I worked in a bank. Then it was in 2006 when I was recruited by the former group CEO of Prasa, Lucky Montana, to help him start what is today known as Prasa. So at the time, Montana was leaving the DOT as the DDG of public transport. So we set on this journey, and this was 2007, and the immediate mandate there was to all the assets, transport assets that were under the then Sportnet, Metro Rail, Shosholoza Mail, Autopex, which is the bus division, were put together into this company called Prasa. So we moved from 2007 to 2009 in the space of 2 years, where we moved from a small company of 200 to over 10,000 people, from a budget of 2 billion to about 10 billion. So my primary responsibility, because of my legal and banking training, was to lead the process. So that's why I got involved into transportation. So I was fortunate leading all these processes that I was exposed to the commuter rail side of business, long distance side of business, the property management company, also strategy in the corporate office. My last formal posting at Prasa was as a CEO of Autopex, the bus division, which I left in 2013, at the end of 2013. Then started APM about 6 months later.
That's fantastic. That's always a very brave step to go from gainful employment to running your own business. Take us through the story.
It was in fact a decision that I took voluntarily. It's something that was forced on me. That, you know, you come from the private sector, you have these brilliant ideas, you know what works, what doesn't work.
Yes.
So it was a classic tale where you have a board who, I'm not sure whether it's malicious or not, but there's always this tension between the CEO and the board. So I never had a good relationship with the board of Autopex, where I got to a stage where I felt that they were just too interfering in the operational aspect of the business. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with the board exercising oversight and fiduciary duties, but you get to a point where you see that the business is really going down the slope, and you've got guys that only comes once a quarter into the business, and they want to
make the rules and tell you how to do your job.
They want to run the business.
Where
so
you focus on it every single day.
In fact, my final straw was when I wanted to discipline one of my executives, and the guy lobbied the board, and I got an instruction from the board to reinstate him. And the guys told me that, no, this guy reports to the board, he does not report to me. Then I said, I'm in the wrong field. Then I left. I tendered my resignation, and that was it.
Okay, and so APM was born. What does it stand for?
APM stands for Africa People Mover. And it was not immediately born then. There was also another coincidence that, when I left Prasa, Autopex at the time, I had an opportunity to walk away with a multi-million rand settlement, which I walked away from. I didn't want it. There's this also, it's a South African thing that people are quick to make money out of government. Then I decided against it. I always say that, essentially you are stealing from the taxpayer. You are stealing from the poor, from the orphans and widows. This is money that could be used. So with all my education, and personally I benefited, from having gone to VES on a public service commission bursary. So I felt that, the taxpayer had done enough for me. So the settlement that I got out of Autopex was a executive management program at Harvard Business School. which I went and did. Then I had a chance encounter with the owner of Intercape, Johan Ferreira, on an international flight. And when he heard that I was out of Autopex, the guy, he suggested that why don't I beg you to start your own company? Because what he said to me was that he's under pressure, companies are under pressure to do empowerment transactions, but he does not believe in those type of empowerment. He believes in, giving a person tools to start their own business. So what he offered to me at that time was the infrastructure, so the depot, the IT systems, and some of the things that you need to run a bus company, which I gladly accepted. In exchange, he took 49% in APM. In fact, Africa People Mover is a name that he came with, but I did not like Africa People Mover. Grammatically, does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
So we just shortened it to APM.
Yeah, much more catchy.
Much more catchy. So 2 years later, I think that was in 2017.
Yeah.
2016, in fact, late. So we finally bought Johan Ferreira out of APM, took back his 49%, and now we have a business that is 100% black owned.
It's fantastic. What a wonderful story. So obviously on this journey you faced many challenges. Take us through some of your most difficult times and how you overcame them.
I think the people will think that funding is the biggest challenge, but it's not. My biggest challenge was the interference from our competitors, the extent that people were willing to go to make sure that we were out of business. I mean, as we speak today, we are currently not servicing Mpumalanga and Limpopo. Our services there remain suspended because the taxi guys were incited against us by one of our operators. And this matter went all the way to the SCA, Supreme Court of Appeals, where we won every step of the way. So it was one of those issues that, I don't know, it's one of those crazy things in South Africa. The second one was, it's always about getting a good staff. We have in this industry an acute shortage of really good professional drivers. So to recruit a person is always a big challenge. I mean, to give you a sense, I mean, this coach that we are in, it's about 4.5 million rand. So to put a guy who's not experienced in this expensive capital equipment it's a problematic.
Yeah, do you find people are a very challenging commodity sometimes?
People are challenging. I mean, I have, some will say the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds. That, I mean, our business is labor intensive. You need a driver to drive a bus. We've got good employees. We've got really some of those things that needs to be, worked on so that they become professional. Then on one hand, you've got unhappy customers. We currently do about 35,000 customers a month. So not all of them will be happy. Yeah. So I've gotten used to some of the abusive emails that I get on a daily basis. But you understand that, you've got a person that the service department, the service industry, the customer is always king. A person has paid their 450 to get to PE or 220 to get to Durban. Yeah. They expect to get value for their money. So we always, we never get offended by such things. We know that it's part of the cost.
Did you have to go through training to learn how to deal with people like that? Or does it come with experience?
No, it comes with experience. I mean, in professional services, as a lawyer, you work with people on a daily basis. I mean, there will always be those who perceive themselves as being much more superior than you, much more cleverer than you.
So how many people are directly employed by APM?
We currently employ 220 people on full-time basis. About 90 of them will be the professional drivers. Then you'll have about 40, which will be sales consultants. We have 14 sales offices throughout South Africa, from East London to Queenstown to Durban, Cape Town. So those have to be manned. Then we'll have a component of them working in technical services, fixing buses, maintaining them. Then you have guys that clean the buses on a daily basis. We run a 24-hour business, so there's always someone working at APM.
And tell us more about the actual services and the routes that APM services. Where do you go from, and is Johannesburg your main hub?
We do 25 services on a daily basis. From departing services from the home depot, you'll have about 13 of those. Then the others will be services that depart from the other areas coming back to our home depot. Our home depot is Pretoria, and if you wanted to know why Pretoria, all the long distance service in South Africa originate and terminate in Pretoria. So even all the computers, you run a Cape Town services from our depot to Pretoria, Joburg, go to Cape Town, Durban, the same thing. So as I said earlier, that we currently do not service Limpopo and Mpumalanga. We used to go as far as Auchenhoek in the Mpumalanga area, then Sibasa in Limpopo. So we mainly do KZN all the way to Durban, Eastern Cape, Mthatha, Idujwa, East London, PE. Also, most obviously the N1 services going through Bloemfontein up to Cape Town.
And how long? What is the longest journey? And do you always have two drivers on a bus?
I mean, it's a safe consideration. The shortest trip for us going to Durban 9 hours. So with long distance is short, but obviously when you are driving, so you cannot expect anyone to be behind the wheel for that length of time. So all our services have two drivers, and they in fact have to they cannot drive for maximum 5 hours. So obviously there are rests in between, so there will always be a relief driver.
Fantastic. And where does the relief driver rest?
All our coaches are spec'd with driver compartments. So that's why when you are not driving, you are taking a rest. I mean, these are Euro spec coaches, so it's not some dingy place. So it's specifically designed to be able to accommodate the driver. But I know that the unions will beg to differ with me.
And what can your customers expect when they travel with you?
Quality service. I mean, the three things that underpin our operations. I mean, APM, superior, safe and simple. Superior in a sense that, we want to distinguish ourselves from our competitors. So it starts with your whole booking process, that you must feel that you got treated like a king or a queen. Secondly, the look and feel of our coaches. That's why we talk about superior. And also how our drivers are all dressed up in uniform with name tags and everything. So that's on the superior part. And I always stress that, the superior is also part of our corporate culture, that everything that you do, I mean, from how you interact, how you conduct yourself at work, whether you are serving the external or internal client, it has to be done in a superior fashion.
As tough as these guys are, even they won't be able to protect your decoder from lightning, fire, flooding, mechanical malfunction, and theft. Luckily, with DSTV decoder insurance, starting from as little as 20 Rand per month, if your decoder taps out, you'll never be caught against the ropes. Simply SMS insure to 38409 or log on to the self-service portal on the DSTV website and keep the good times rolling with DSTV decoder insurance.
some of the special things that APM does and some of your unique selling points?
As far as sustainability and being a responsible employer or a citizen is concerned, is that there's a need, and it starts talking to the number of employees that we have, that we've deliberately set up to make sure that we provide employment opportunities. I think one of my greatest pride and joy is the artisan program that we started about 18 months ago.
Okay, what's the artisan program?
With, previously unemployed youths from our area, so from Pretoria, so will be the youth from Atteridgeville, Lodiam, Mamelodi, Mabopane. So currently I think we've got about 20 youngsters that have gone through the program. 6 of them have qualified as workshop assistants. So these are the guys that are responsible for maintaining these coaches, the fixing air cons, making sure that we can distinguish ourselves in terms of the superior service. Then we've had some that have gone through our customer training, customer care, so they will go through our sales offices. They are part of our call center. Then thirdly, we have guys working as quality controllers. So each time before a coach departs, these guys are responsible for making sure that everything is perfect. So that's what we've done. And also our unique selling proposition. I mean, we were in fact the first company to use superior coaches, luxury coaches in the lower segment of the market. It's something that we have influenced, and you can see that everyone around, all the competitors have started reflecting, buying similar spec coaches to make for the lower end of the market. So I think that's a contribution that we've made. Before APM, is that people in the lower end of the market were treated really badly. I mean, you had even the sitting was a 3x2 configuration, meaning that you had 3 seats on this side and 2 seats. Now imagine traveling long distance, you are sitting in the middle with someone that you've never met before and whatever. So that was terrible. So that's what we've done, that we're in fact globing that things like onboard toilets should be made a standard in the long distance industry. So we just need to, that will be our way of contributing to improvement of this sector.
Fantastic, and improving the industry standards. And that's such a special thing that you are doing for the youth and improving the situation in this country at the moment. We all know unemployment is a huge problem. Yeah. Very, very unique, very special. And what are some of your medium to long-term goals? Where do you see your business in 5 years?
Strategically, in fact, it's a short-term goal, is that there's a lot of wrong in our industry, where there's a poor regulation, permits or operating licenses are being issued as if it's the end of the world. So we are saying and it's also at the heart of the conflict in this industry between the taxis and the buses, that you have a limited demand. The economy is not growing, so it does not make sense for the regulators to keep issuing permits and permits and permits like this. So that's what we are trying to do. The second thing is also trying to get the regulator, to make sure that what we see is, especially during peak period, where you've got even commuter buses being used in long distances that are not safe. So something that we are very passionate about. And again, I mean, it's something that we also need as a country to accept that even poor people, the lower end of the market, they also deserve to be treated properly. So it's something that drives APM. And you asked earlier, what is my unique selling proposition, is that I can give anyone a business plan of APM, but they can never do it, because we genuinely believe in properly serving the lower end of the market. Anyone can buy a bus similar to this thing, but very soon you'll show that they're doing a half-hearted job. I saw this thing at Metro Rail, that how the poor customers were being treated there, and it's something that really got me into this whole thing. We are currently at around 10% of the market share. We are hoping in the next 3 years we can double that. So by acquiring additional fleet, we have about 30 coaches now. We are hoping that obviously with funders coming to the party, we can double the fleet and become a proper business to be reckoned with. We are in fact the only black-owned formal company, in a sense that, in fact, national operators. So I know that you've got a lot of other black-owned companies, but they tend to do regional services like from Pretoria to Limpopo. Yeah. But APM is the only one that has a national footprint. Yeah.
Tumisang, tell us about your biggest success so far in being an entrepreneur.
The biggest success for me was, in fact, it's even written on our buses. You know, if you look behind me, it's written Inspiring Hope. So for what we've been able to do in the 3 years that we've been around was to inspire, I always say, the black child, that the sky is the limit, everything's possible. Before APM came into the scene, people did not think that it was possible for an entrepreneur, for a black person to start a bus company and do it successfully from scratch. I think the guys that have done, with all the respect that I have for them, that they've always done, and I said it earlier, they're only doing regional services, you know, one route, bus, 2, 3 operators and whatever, or doing cross-border. But for us was to have this massive organization going on. I mean, I always say that I will never be rich running bus companies, but you know, I go home every night knowing that I inspire a whole lot of people to dream about starting their APM. And again, for me, the service ethos. You know, people ask me, what's your highlight of the day? My highlight was it's always getting an email or a post on social media from a happy customer, or from someone who was previously employed, now employed because they got onto a bus from Devon to Johannesburg, coming for an interview, and they got that job. So that really makes us very proud.
Wonderful, and it means it's all possible.
Yep.
And what motivates, what drives you, if you will?
It's all about, as I say, it's all linked to the service that we provide to our people. That, you know, when you know that you are making a difference, I think that's the greatest motivator for me. As I say that, you know, there are a whole lot of people, apart from our 220 employees and their families, the multiply effect, who rely on livelihood from APM. For me, it's all the difference that we are making to the lower segment of the market. I mean, you've got the guys living in the rural parts of the Eastern Cape coming to Gauteng for medical attention. I mean, I facilitate to make sure that they do those things. We've got guys that, as I said now, coming for job interviews. So that's the greatest source of motivation for me. And the roots of this thing, in fact, it was in December 20 when we first started. So I got an email, I mean, which still haunted me to this day, where, because we were operating all buses that we were leasing, and we had a breakdown, and we had some passenger rather who missed his interview, and the guy sent me an email congratulating us, very humble about it. Gracious, congratulating us for having started APM. And the guy reminded us, you know, guys, you've taken a huge responsibility on your task. We don't just get on your buses for recreational purposes. We get on those buses because we have a commitment on the other side. I might be going to a funeral, I might be going to a job interview, I might have that once in a 6-month appointment at the Johannesburg General of Bara, but I need to get back on time. If you are not able to provide that service, then you're in trouble. So it's something that we do, we take very seriously to this day. So it's also all the 220 people that work for APM, that they also appreciate, they share the same passion that we have for us. It's all about saving people. So that's the greatest motivator.
Everybody is truly looked after by APM,
Indeed.
and you play such an important part of the community.
Indeed.
So where do people find you? What are your contact details?
On the website, www.apmbus.com. You can even make bookings there. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, APM Bus, so we are easily reachable, and also have a personal account on Twitter. It's called Inspiring Hope.
What an incredible business journey, truly inspiring hope. That's all we have for this week's episode of Enterprise Zone. Thanks for tuning in. If you wish to be featured on the show, get in touch with me at alisonl@afrotone.coza. Until next week, let's keep working to make South Africa great.